For 2.5 centuries, they've been the tip of America's spear. You know, a force that's become synonymous with honor, with courage, and this just unbreakable will. They are, of course, the United States Marines. And their story, well, it begins in the most unlikely place you could ever imagine.
So, that's the big question, isn't it? How does a fighting force literally born in a bar become a global legend? Let's dive into the incredible, nearly 250-year journey of the U.S. Marine Corps and figure out just how a small band of naval infantry grew into one of the most feared and respected military organizations in history.
And our story starts right here. I mean, we're not on some grand parade ground or in a stuffy government building. Nope, we're in the heart of colonial Philadelphia, inside a loud, bustling tavern during the peak of the American Revolution.
You see, their beginnings were, well, they were fragile. Back in November of '75, the Continental Marines were created purely out of necessity to fight the British. But here's the kicker. Once the war was won, poof, they were disbanded. Their future was completely up in the air. It wasn't until 1798, with new problems brewing with France, that the Marine Corps we know today was officially brought back to life. And this time, it was for good.
And this right here just perfectly captures their scrappy, get-it-done origins. The very first commandant, a guy named Samuel Nicholas, used Turn Tavern as his recruiting headquarters. Just think about that for a second. The tavern's own keeper, Robert Mullen, became the first ever captain and recruiter. They weren't looking for choir boys, they were looking for fighters, and a tavern was the absolute perfect place to find them.
Now let's look at how their first real battles didn't just earn them a reputation. They literally became the lyrics to their legendary hymn, forging an identity in the fire of faraway wars.
So, in the early 1800s, the brand new United States was getting hassled by Barbary pirates over in the Mediterranean. Guess who they sent to deal with it? The Marines. They marched across a brutal desert to attack and capture the city of Derna. It was this grueling campaign that gave the Marine Corps hymn its iconic opening line, "From the shores of Tripoli."
Flash forward a few decades to the Mexican-American War. The Marines fought all the way to Mexico City and captured the National Palace, which was known as the Halls of Montezuma. That victory locked in the next legendary line of their song, forever tying the core to these two foundational battles.
All right, so from the deserts of North Africa and the palaces of Mexico, we're going to jump way forward to the 20th century. This era would throw the Marines their greatest test yet. It's during this time that they'd be totally transformed, going from a versatile naval infantry to the world's absolute premier amphibious assault force, a change that was born from pure necessity and paid for in blood.
You know, what's so incredible is how this one single quote from World War I just perfectly nails the spirit that would define them. When retreating French forces told Captain Williams' men to fall back, he gave this legendary reply. His Marines dug in, held their ground against a much bigger, more experienced German force, and a legend was born.
But in World War II, that fighting spirit was put to the ultimate test. The Marines basically became the main characters of the brutal Pacific campaign against Japan. Their job was the island-hopping strategy, fighting tooth and nail for every single inch of ground in some of the most hellish conditions you can possibly imagine, from the malaria-infested jungles of Guadalcanal to the black volcanic sands of Iwo Jima.
So, what was the price of that victory? The numbers are just staggering. Over 87,000 Marine casualties in the Pacific alone. It was this immense sacrifice, this price paid in blood, that cemented their legendary status as America's fiercest amphibious fighters, a reputation they carry to this very day.
After World War II, the world changed all over again. And, of course, so did the Marines. They had to adapt. They had to evolve to face the new challenges of the Cold War and now the really complex threats of the 21st century.
This chart here shows a really dramatic shift in their strategy. I mean, the Marines made the incredibly bold call to get rid of their heavy 70-ton M1 Abrams tanks. Now, why would they do that? Because they're focusing on becoming a lighter, faster, more agile force that seamlessly mixes ground troops with advanced air power like the F-35. It's a huge gamble, for sure, but it's one they believe is absolutely essential for the future of war.
So what does the modern Corps look like? It's a really potent expeditionary force of just over 200,000 members. But don't let that number fool you into thinking they're small. They're organized into these self-sufficient air-ground task forces that can be deployed anywhere on the planet at a moment's notice, ready to fight the second their boots hit the ground. And this is the key, right? This constant evolution is what has kept the Marines so relevant for nearly 250 years. They're quickly bringing drone warfare into the fold, shifting their whole strategy back to the Pacific, and they're doing this delicate dance of balancing their cherished traditions with cutting-edge tech. It's this deep-seated ability to adapt that lets them remain, as their motto says, semper fidelis, always faithful.
So, from a tavern in Philadelphia to the very forefront of 21st century warfare, the United States Marine Corps has always been the first to fight. As they keep adapting for the next generation of conflict, their incredible history leaves us with one provocative question. Where will they fight next? If you found this explainer insightful, do us a favor and hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into the military world. Thanks for watching.